Secretary Kelly, thanks for your testimony. The last time you were here, we talked about U.S. citizens coming across the border and being threatened with non-entry or detention if they did not divulge the contents of their phone, all of the contents of their phone. And your response was, I just don't believe we're doing it. So we asked some questions in writing, and we're still waiting on the response. It's been about 6 weeks or so. But I thought I'd list for you a couple of the public episodes of this happening. This year, a NASA engineer and a U.S. citizen was pulled aside after coming back from Chile. They demanded the PIN for his phone, and they handed him a form that explained how CBP had the right to copy the contents of his phone, all the contents of his phone. He recalled that the form indicated that his participation in the search was mandatory, and it threatened detention and/or seizure if he did not comply. The phone, ironically, was already a government phone. It was an NASA phone that we were wanting to search. 2 citizens were stopped and returned from Canada. NBC did an investigation of 25 different cases of U.S. citizens being told to turn over the phones, unlock them, or provide passwords. A U.S. citizen was taken off of a flight in L.A., handcuffed and released after a Homeland Security agent looked through his phone for 15 minutes. A U.S. citizen journalist was also had their phone taken. So I guess my question is your answer still, I just don't believe we're doing it?
My answer is we don't do it routinely unless there's a reason why, so that's a change. We do it whether they're citizens or non-citizens coming in. I think it's, of the million or so people that come in the country, half of 1% is checked. Now, typically, the officer, and always according to the law, now typically the officers who are engaged in the frontline defense at the ports of entry, in their questioning of individuals for whatever has tipped them off, will cause them to have certain conversations, go down certain avenues of not interrogation, but again, conversation in the event of some indicator that perhaps the individual is returning from, sex tourism or something like that. We do catch a fair number of people in that regard. But again, Senator, very seldom done and always for a reason and always within the law.
So the answer now is not, I just don't believe we're doing it. It's we are doing it, not that often.
Right.
The policy they're being threatened with, though, is detention. How long would they be detained if they don't give you the PIN to their phone?
Well, it's a relatively short period of time. That's generally called secondary, where they are there's follow-up questions and what. Once a decision might be made to put them into some legal justice system, then that's still no longer detention.
But to you, it's still you're just fine with a policy that arbitrarily takes someone's phone, says you can't come back into your own country?
Not arbitrarily. There's a reason why they do it, Senator.
Well, no. The thing is, it is arbitrary unless there are rules as to how you do it. What are the rules? In our country, if you want to look at my phone, you call a judge in my country. So this wouldn't necessarily be American jurisprudence if you're just saying, oh, we might have some internal rules. Have you published what your rules are?
At the ports of entry, whether you're a citizen or non-citizen, the officers have procedures to follow, but certainly rights to check baggage and, in this case, look into electronics. There are procedures. Whether they're published or not, or specific enough to publish, I don't know, but I can certainly get back to you.
We'd like to see that. We'd also like to see the form that threatens them with detention and or seizure if they don't comply.
Sure.
I can tell you I'm not happy with the policy, and I wish it were different. And we have actually introduced legislation to try to stop you from doing this and to make you go to a court the way we do in our country. Typically, we go to a court and you ask a judge, and you have to present evidence. You have to specify an individual, and you have to have a reason for doing it. Searching someone's phone is not the same as searching someone's luggage.
Would that law also prohibit us from looking in, bags and things like that?
No, but I think there's a difference, and I think that that's the whole point here, is that looking at someone's luggage for an immediate threat to to the country, to the people, to the plane, et cetera, I think we've decided that that's within the scope of your jurisdiction. But looking at someone's phone is a much more personal and much more extensive look into their life. And we just don't think you should be, it sort of horrifies us to think that you couldn't come back in your country. People are now talking, there are whole people giving you advice to not take your phone abroad because when you come back home, your country won't let you come home unless you let them look at your entire life. That doesn't seem like a fair trade-off to be able to travel or for safety. And I think there is a point at which we give up so much of our liberty to travel that, has it been worth it, really? I mean, we can live in a secure state if we clamp down and we have no freedom to travel, and we give up all of our privacy to travel. I just don't think that's necessary. And I think there can also be two different standards, frankly. I think there can be one standard for somebody who's coming for the first time from Afghanistan, who's got one name and no background. I'm with you, and we need to do more scrutiny on people coming to our country. But if an American citizen leaves and comes back, I think for goodness sakes, they ought to still be protected by the Bill of Rights when they come home.
You didn't, frankly, have the balls to put country before party.